Welcome to the Sharon Fitzmaurice podcast, where we celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. We're proudly partnered with intothewestadventures.com, and the Sharon Fitzmaurice podcast is going on tour next year, and we're going to do Sarria to Santiago, a Camino walking trip with the guidance of Into the West Adventures. We are nearly fully booked up. We have two spaces left, sharing a twin room. If you would like to join us on this amazing experience from the 30th of March to the 6th of April 2026, please check out my website, sharonfitzmaurice.mindfulness.com. And now on to our next guest. So you're welcome to our next guest, Caolan Kelly. So Caolan took a leap. Would we call it a leap of faith or a risk leap? We're going to hear from Caolan. He left a 30K a year job to build his own personal brand. So many listeners are saying, why would you do that, Caolan? You're very welcome, Caolan.
Hi Sharon, thanks a million for having me.
Not
And
at all.
why would I do that? That's a great question to start things off. I think a lot of people fall into that kind of trap, or a lot of people they kind of follow a path that is already laid out for them, and they don't really question their decisions. And that's kind of what I did. I followed that traditional path. I went to school, studied hard, and went to university. And I never really was too into biomedical science or kind of the degree path I was going down, but I just kind of it's kind of what everyone else was doing. So I just didn't want to stray from the crowd. And ultimately, Sharon, it led me to a pretty unfulfilling place. And a corporate world, it just didn't really excite me at all. And the more I kind of seen different people online coming up with these side hustles and everything back in, when was it? It was 2023, yeah. So that just kind of light me up because freedom is one of my values, and it's something that I want to do for myself, build a life of freedom. So thankfully now, 18 months later, we're in a very good spot. But yeah, I'm very excited.
I love that. And I love that freedom is one of your values because just like you said, Keelan, we get stuck in the system,
Yeah,
and
that's
people think
right.
we have to do exactly as you said. And if we don't do any of those steps, that we have failed in some way, that it's a society or a cultural thing, that you have to have the pensionable job or the good salary. And your next step would be then to get a promotion, get married, have children, all of the
Yeah,
things that we've been
100%.
I suppose we've been programmed. Now we have to remind our listeners and viewers that you are 27 years of age. Is that right, Keelan?
Yeah, you're on the money there, Sharon.
Yes. And the people will say, and the here again is, people's issue. It's they say, well, what would you know at 24, 25, 26, or 27? But I feel seeing you, and watching your videos and everything, that you created this beautiful opportunity in your life, Keelan, where you were saying, you know what, I am only young. I can create a new story. I can, seek out new opportunities for myself. Why would I not do that?
That's it, Sharon. Like the risk of, I think regret, the pain of regret down the line is going to be so much stronger and more intense than that fear of failure to
Mm.
actually make that change. And I guess a lot of people, they don't actually make that change because they're in their comfort zone and they mightn't have experienced as much pain as I did, say. I was very, very unfulfilled. Yeah, it kind of just led me to this dark place. Like, is this it? Like 40 years, kind of looking around the clean room in the medical device factory, looking at everyone thinking, is this it? Like 40 years, I'm gonna be here just to get a pension to then start living. Why on earth would I do that when I can create the life that I've always wanted to myself by taking that risk? And I definitely think you need to experience a certain amount of pain before you'll make the change. Otherwise, you kind of live in this analogy I heard, the fur-lined mousetrap. You're in a mousetrap, but it's still kind of comfortable, so you don't make a change. And I understand burning the boats like I did. It is I was lucky I didn't have anything kind of weighing me down in terms of like a mortgage overhead or kids or anything like that. So that was obviously to my advantage that I was able to burn the boats and to make such a massive change. But if you have the vision, anyone can do it. You just need to take the first step.
I love that. And it is so important because just as you're saying that, we hear of so many young people and again, older people, there's no discrimination when it comes to people getting lost or feeling like they're stuck in a career or a relationship or a situation in their life. And to take that chance, it's the fear, isn't it? The fear that stops people of what other people will think of them, how they will judge them,
Yeah.
and tell you you're doing this. This is the worst mistake. You know, how did your family feel, Keelan, about you leaving the good job and going out and making this leap of faith or whatever we want to call it? What did they say to you?
Are you sure you want to do this? I think was a question I came up against a few times. Firstly, from yeah, back at home. Um, but yeah, when my mom, when my dad, they seen how they know me obviously better than anyone else. So when I put my mind to something, I I always follow through. And yeah, that's what they knew in my eyes, they knew in my heart and soul that it was going to be the same with this. Um, that it would actually be a bigger risk not to leave. But yeah, the fear of judgment is we could talk about this for hours, especially uh, in a country here like Ireland. It's just putting your head up above that parapet. I think there's definitely a sense of that tall poppy syndrome here in Ireland. Here in the UK as well is very similar. And yeah, I get it. I get it. It's very challenging. It's it's rooted in our DNA. The more I've kind of researched about this, it's not just this surface level thing. It's actually deeply rooted in Irish heritage and culture from times of the English plantations, from times of the fear of loss with the famine. Yeah, people, or even as well, the Celtic tiger, that kind of false sense of the promised land only for everything to be taken away. So people are very skeptical and fear of judgment is a real thing. And yeah, I faced my fair share of that as well. But the best thing about fear, I think, is that the life you want is on the other side of that. And for me anyway, when it comes to fear, I see it as this me standing on the side of this massive lake, 5 kilometers long. And this lake looks so deep and scary and unknown and uncertain. And for 6 months, I actually worked on my first business. I didn't even tell anyone because I was so scared of the fear of judgment, of that fear of failure as well, of kind of yeah, people kind of laughing at me or having their opinions. So I actually kept everything under the radar for a long time. But as soon as I did take that first step, I did post my first story on social media and broadcasted to the world what I'm now doing and starting up my own first business. I realized that that lake that I was looking out at, it only was an inch deep when I stepped into it. And all of that fear was just metastasizing in my head all along.
It is so true. And it's something that I personally can, attest to living with that fear and the fear of judgment and afraid of what others can think and the shame or, who people see me as, just as you, it's like you want to be seen as successful or living your best life, but that sometimes can be a mask or a pretense we're putting on living up to other people's expectations. So when we can drop that mask, just like you did, Keelan, and say, you know what, here I am. This is my story, and this is the risk or the leap that I'm taking. And you'll get out of 100 people, you could get 70 people going, that is amazing, Keelan. I really admire you. And then you get 30 people saying, what are you doing that for? Why would anyone do that? Sure, that's stupid. So who do you focus on? Do you focus on the people that encourage you, or do you focus on the people that are the naysayers? Because I always say they're not paying your bills. They're not living your life. They're not walking in your shoes. This is your life. So however you want your life to look, that is up to you. It's not up to anybody else. And the people that go along with you for the ride, Keelan, they're the ones that are going to support you and encourage you all every step of the way, aren't they?
Absolutely, Sharon. You hit the nail on the head there. And yeah, the way I see it, the more I've kind of went down this rabbit hole of entrepreneurship. At the start, Sharon, it's really interesting. You kind of start out on this path with the life of freedom. You want to make the money, you want to be able to travel as much as you want and do what you want when you want. But ultimately, entrepreneurship, it's just this vehicle for personal growth and personal discovery. And it's something I wasn't really expecting to come across as intensely along the journey. And yeah, it's mad to think that so many people they live their lives and they make key decisions based on the opinions of others. It's just it's sad to say the least because we're all going to be gone in 100, 200 years. No one's going to remember our name anyway. So while we have this finite amount of time on this floating rock in space, we might as well do what makes us happy. We might as well do what makes us fulfilled and have as much impact as we can in doing so.
Absolutely. I have this, well, I have two kind of sayings. We only have today, we only have the present moment, and everything is one step at a time. And if you focus on that in each day, you stop being afraid of what's coming down the road because just as you said, Keelan, you're always going to develop and grow personally and professionally. It is the greatest life experience to go out and do something that you've always wanted to do because you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much every week or month or year, you're saying, God, I really love doing this. I'm not so sure about that. I want to put more energy into whatever this is over here because that really excites me. It's having the passion for it. And that's what gives us freedom is doing something that we love, even when we're scared and even when we're saying, I'm not sure where this is going to go. Will I make any money from this? But one thing that I have learned since I started my professional career was that I did it because I loved it. And like you, I wanted to give myself that sense of freedom. And I watch other entrepreneurs and business owners, and when they love what they're doing and they have a passion for it, you can see it in them.
Yeah.
You see the joy and the fulfillment that comes from doing what they love. And that's what grows a business. Just as we were talking before we came on here to record, it is that connection authentically with other people and showing up as yourself. Isn't that true, Keelan?
Yeah, so true. A great quote I heard recently is I beat competition through authenticity. And that really hit home for me. It's something I value massively, especially making content and putting yourself out there online. it's so easy to just copy the viral trend or put on a mask and showcase a version of yourself that isn't actually real, that isn't actually true. But the thing is, Sharon, you won't beat me at being me, just like I won't beat you at being you. So there's so much power in that to speak your truth, to show up online unapologetically. And it takes a lot of time to get there, to get to that true, authentic self. But when you do, it's just liberating because all those, that inner critic, he or she just gets so quiet and actually nearly turns into more of a cheerleader than a critic. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
That is so true, Keelan. And you reminded me of a funny story. So obviously I've been posting online for years, not even knowing much about social media when I started out. You have the advantage over a lot of us that are older than you. You know, we were like, how do you post a video? Where do you put this? And how can you tag people? You know, so again, that was a learning opportunity for all of us, and we got to realize that we could reach more people and connect with more people. So that was really empowering. But I remember my son, can't think what age he was at the time anyway. He was well into his teenage years. He could have been 16. And if anybody knows me, they'll know I love dancing around the kitchen. It's one way I let go of everything. I de-stress and I have a good laugh at myself. So my son said to me one day, oh, yeah, you wouldn't put that online. And I said, record me, I will, because I am not worried about what other people think of me. I am practicing what I preach, that we need to be our authentic selves, that we need to show up on the good days and the days that are not so good and not be picture perfect and not the Instagram photos of happy families, that every day is an ordinary day, but some days there's great moments, but there's also moments that aren't great. And I share all of that because of my own
mm.
story. So I posted the dancing video of me going around like a crack joke now, Keelan. And the response was just phenomenal. People said it made them smile. They started dancing themselves or tapping their foot or singing along. And they kept saying, can we have more of this? It filled us with so much happiness. So for me, putting up a silly dancing video long before the TikTok videos of the dancing and all of that, it wasn't about likes and everything. It was about proving to my son, my eldest son, saying, you have to stop trying to be perfect. Just show up as you, make people smile, teach them something, empower them, whatever it is. Just do it and don't worry about the likes, the shares, all of those things. Just look at the people. Again, we focus on the people that came back and said, thank you so much. That just made my day. Thank you so much for making me smile today. Thank you for, kind of reminding me to get up and let loose and stop holding myself so tight, trying to be what other people want me to be. And that was just from a 2 minute dancing video.
Yeah, there's so much power in that. Like to think that you can just put a smile on someone's face, as you said, give someone that little bit of hope that they're crying out for in a tough time. And yeah, it's absolute magic to the world we live in, the leverage we have with social media. And once again, yeah, the impact we can make.
So your impact is, and we'll talk about you did a kind of a long walk and you did it for Mental Health Ireland. So that was from Paris to Rome. So that was what, 1,500, 1,600 kilometers. Where did this idea or inspiration come from?
I think the cause was very important to me, Sharon. Jigsaw. It's something, mental health, it's once again, there's that stigma here in Ireland about mental health and just kind of getting on with it, bottling things up. And it's definitely something that I struggled with a lot growing up. And I just started posting on social media when was it? It was last January. That was kind of when I got going fully. I kind of dived in head first. So I was already building my personal brand and I was already sharing my story online. And personal development, personal growth was always a big interest of mine. The mindset is fascinating for me. I think that kind of background in biomedical science, one of my modules actually down in Galway was neuroscience. So anything got to do with the mind is deeply fascinating to me. And when I'm kind of merged all those things together, the personal brand, my past struggles and challenges and roadblocks with mental health, I then seen a guy called Russ Cook, and he was running the length of Africa. So when I seen that, and I was doing what I was doing, I was like, okay, there's something going on here. I can definitely do something here that marries everything together and raises money for a very worthy cause and helps break stigma, such an important stigma here in Ireland. So that's what I did. Once again, like many things, it just starts with an idea. It starts with a thought. And the thought at the start was actually very different, Sharon. I was going to just do a Camino. I was going to do a Camino. I was down in Tarifa at the very south of Spain at the time, and I was thinking of walking from Tarifa. The Camino from Sevilla goes the whole way up to Santiago, and I was going to just walk from there or walk the whole length of Spain. But then I was like, I've seen so many times, so many different people like doing Caminos. It's kind of more a generic thing at this stage that a lot of people do. So then I was thinking, how can I capture more attention? How can I bring in more of a crowd, raise more money, and get more kind of firepower to highlight such an important issue? And that's when I thought about the landmarks. And I was thinking, actually, first it was Eiffel Tower was the first one I came up with. Eiffel Tower, that kind of hit me straight away. I was like, I'm definitely starting there. The fact that I was already living in Spain, I was gonna go to Barcelona to the Familia. What's the name of that big
Yes,
that
yeah.
big cathedral? To go from Paris to Barcelona, but then I thought of the Colosseum. So the idea just kept kind of progressing, and then I just went for it. I once again promoted it through my socials. I made a promo video. I worked with a videographer. We got the word out there. And that was the start then. I had 2 months to prepare. I had July and August before I went off at the start of September. And yeah, made my way.
You are amazing. I love that, and I love that it was a thought, but even on that thought, you went, okay, I want it to be different. I want it to stand out. As you said, I don't want it to be generic. So it was like from the passion and the idea, you were inspired, but then you took it another step and developed it even more so that it would stand out more. And then, of course, raise more awareness and funds then for Jigsaw, which is powerful. So why, for your mental health, and you said, you're in that dark place and you're in struggles. And you share that quite openly, as I do as well, Keelan, because I think the more we speak about it, for
Mm,
particularly younger men like you, because men, as we know traditionally, don't always open up about their struggles, and they might say it to a friend or a family member, or sometimes they may not share it at all. So, what you're doing in speaking openly about your mental health challenges, and then even doing this amazing walk, from Paris to Rome and videoing it and capturing, all of the moments you've had and even the struggles along the way and the funny moments, all of those things. Have people responded to you, I know positively in what you're doing, but have other people reached out to you and said, that they're struggling and, they like that you're sharing this. Have young men in particular reached out to you?
Yeah, definitely, Sharon. Maybe not reaching out and saying I'm struggling, I need help as such. More so in a thoughtful DM or message that kind of it's something that they needed to hear, and it's something that they really appreciated and respected, and they gained a lot of value from hearing it because once again, it's not something the stigma, the kind of deep cultural roots, it's not something you just change overnight. I think that that stigma is going to be there for a good while longer, but it's all these little things, like you said, just sharing and spreading awareness online and being open to the idea of reaching out for help, of not bottling up all your issues, all your problems, of leaning on a family member or someone you trust. That makes all the difference. And all that kind of awareness, it all compounds over time. So I was more than delighted to do my fair share and to shine a light on an issue like this.
Brilliant. What did you learn about yourself, Keelan, through that experience? Because I have done the Camino a few times and I'm doing it again next Easter. And each, even though it's not a walk like Paris to Rome, but I've done it a few times for different charities because, again, it's a vehicle for raising awareness. So it's a challenging doing the walks every day and you're pushing past your limits, and realizing that you're actually stronger than you are. So for me, it was like the mind stops us, the body will listen to the mind. So I had all of this going on. So it was something that I learned and I could share with other people. But after each Camino that I did, I learned something more about myself and I came back a little bit more confident, a little bit more empowered, realizing that I actually can do really hard things,
Mhm.
that I just have to take that step. So, what did you learn about yourself from this experience from Paris to Rome?
I learned that we are far more resilient and capable than we give ourselves credit. I learned that every time I descended into a rut and my emotions clogged up my lens, I couldn't see a way out. I was like in the middle of this abyss, lost out at sea. But every time I went in there, I came stronger. Every single time, like without fail. And in the moment when you're feeling really down and you're fed up and my my 15 kg rucksack was drenched from head to toe and I had 25 kilometers hike me through rough terrain. It was all character building. It was all adding another sheet of metal to the armor. And ultimately, yeah, it's it stood so much to me, that experience. It's built me, it's built who I am today. And I would encourage anyone, it doesn't have to be a challenge of that extent, but even like Sharon, I kind of started out doing small things like cold showers was a big one back a few years ago. Kind of leaning into discomfort and seeking discomfort. And once again, back to the neuroscience, um, I'm a big lover of Andrew Huberman and his work. And there's a little part of your brain that actually it grows every time you lean into that discomfort, every time you do things you don't want to do. And that ultimately it builds your willpower, which can then have such a broad effect, an amplifying effect into all the other areas of your life. So yeah, I learned so much about myself, but mainly that we are a lot more capable than we think we are, and we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about the mind, one of the things that, because I used to meditate, well, I still meditate, I obviously teach it and everything with everything else I do. But I remember that experience of going like, when we're stuck in that place, of lack of belief, lack of confidence within ourselves, no self-worth or self-esteem, we're continuing to walk the same path in our mind day in and day out, and we see nothing new. And again, as I say, taking a step or a different direction, it sometimes takes a lot of courage within yourself. No one has to know about it. But I used to say to my mind, I'm going to create a new path today by doing something new, whether that was reading a book or it was listening to a podcast or watching somebody speak on a TEDx talk. I said, I'm creating a new pathway in my mind. And I'm very visual, Keelan. So I used to always say, I wonder where this pathway is going to take me. But it wasn't about where it was going to go, but it was of what I was going to learn along the way. Just as you're walking from Paris to Rome, what you learn about yourself, the different sights you see, how you feel when you're connecting with other people, as I did on the Camino and many other things I've done in life. It's that journey, isn't it, within yourself through the experiences that you have allowed yourself or created for yourself, that those new pathways in the mind, and if we can create them by doing new things, even the scary things, even the things that we're challenged by, that is amazing to show that we can change within our own minds and bodies the energy of within us and all around us. And that has ripple effects, doesn't it, all over the world?
Yeah, everything is energy.
Yeah.
Everything is energy. And yeah, I used to have such negative thoughts, such repeated patterns of overthinking, and that inner critic was always so loud, especially through my teenage years. And by doing the gratitude journaling, by doing the positive affirmations, as woo-woo as it sounds, I started doing it only, I always knew about it. Like I always knew how powerful it was or is. I always kind of had big interest in, say, Joe Dispenza and guys like these that talk about the programming of your subconsciousness, etc. But I never actually did it for a long period of time. I never actually made it into a habit. And this year, 2025, I said, I'm gonna actually put the foot down. I'm gonna actually go with it this time. And that's what I've been doing every morning since the start of the year. And I can't tell you how much, Sharon, it's actually just rewired my brain. And it's given me like this new sense of belief and confidence and ability that I just didn't have as much before. And it's really powerful. Yeah, it's so powerful that the energy you can create within yourself just by doing these things on the daily and building a habit out of it.
Absolutely. And people don't understand that as much. And it's so funny because years ago, in Galway City, I was facilitating large groups, and one of the participants, she was also a neuroscientist, and she was only 19 when she started coming to my groups. And she said, and she's still working with me to this day, but she's 30 what now, 34, I think. And she said it was one of the biggest learning experience of her life when she started coming to the groups and meditating and feeling the energy as it started out and as it built throughout the group and even in that group energy support. It was so powerful. And she said it's nearly like we were just all lifting each other, the support in it. So again, for her, she said that taught her so much more than you can obviously learn in the classroom or in the lecture hall as well. It's the experience of how you can change things within your mind, within yourself, and within your life. So when you talk about gratitude journaling and everything, to me, that's just normal. I don't see that as something people should add into their life. I just think it should be normal part of life, but it isn't because again, people haven't been taught how to do it.
Mm.
When if you were brought up in the Catholic faith, you gave thanks for your food or, whatever else you gave thanks for. But on a day-to-day basis, most people would say, oh yeah, thank God for that. But was there any real meaning in it? Whereas, like you say, in gratitude, you're not just saying the words, you're feeling it energetically within your mind and body. And that changes the energy around you and it attracts to you
Mhm.
even more things that you can be grateful for, even more things that can inspire you. And next thing, your energy is going out and reaching more people, just like social media. So it all starts within us, doesn't it, Keelan?
Yeah, absolutely. It all starts within. It all starts as within. And as much as I've chased freedom, I've chased this kind of this life of freedom the last few years, the more I've went down this path, I realized freedom is really within. It's found within. It's found by cultivating that kind of sense of inner peace and fulfillment and just belief in yourself. It all starts within. And yeah, it's crazy to think that once again, gratitude journaling, this sort of stuff, people just don't really do it. Yeah. And I get it. Yeah. We're not really taught it in schools, but it's really powerful. And I encourage anyone to give it a go if they're not already trying it.
And again, those things that you share, that's really important because you are, of the young adults, and you can share that and inspire and create a positive influence in somebody's life, in particular, young men and women that may be struggling, don't have maybe the trust in themselves to put themselves out there like you're doing right now. And they're watching you and kind of going, I wish I could be more like Keelan or whoever, and it's sharing what has helped you and supported you to getting to where you are now that is going to gain the biggest trust with your audience, because it's not just the best times, as we spoke about already. It's also talking about the challenges that we have faced, will face, and will always face a challenge. It's part of living our lives. But just as you said, this is the one life as Sharon and Keelan. So why not make it the best life possible we can for ourselves? And so what if we fuck up, fail, trip, So what? That's all part of the learning, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to fail. You have to fail again and again and again. And through failure, through that repetition, that is when you succeed. If you don't have the courage to initially fail, you'll never get to where you want to go to. And even just reframing failure as feedback has been instrumental for me because ultimately, social media, running a business, it's a long-term game. And I wish someone told me at the start that I wasn't going to be making 10K a month after 3 months when I started out. But maybe that bit of that naive kind of person that I was, maybe that's what I needed, just to dive in head first anyway, and not to overthink it and just take the first step. But yeah, failure is key, and the more you can fail, the quicker, the more you can actually reduce the time between the repetitions and the failures, the quicker you'll get to wherever you want to go.
And you're also learning from those mistakes or failures. I always say they're learning opportunities. Every time we fail or make a mistake, it's a learning opportunity about
Mhm.
ourselves and what feels right and what doesn't feel right, what works and what does work. And to stick with that, because again, if you're doing it because you love doing it and it's giving you that freedom within yourself and peace in your mind and your heart and having fun doing it as well, that is what you're attracting to you all the time, Keelan. So what you're doing now is helping businesses um, through storytelling framework. So leveraging their story to stand out, connect, and convert. So tell people how you can help them. If they don't understand what story selling framework is, try and explain that to people that are listening and watching.
Absolutely. So, why story is so important? If you don't have a story, if your business, your brand, it doesn't have a story, it just competes with all the other noise in the marketplace. There's no differentiation. You are actually positioned as a generalist versus a specialist. I then work with founders, B2B service providers, and help them to uncover their brand story, to uncover their life story, and use that as firepower to attract the right audience, to create content authentically, to build home run offers, and to ultimately create a business and life that feels like freedom, not pressure. That kind of 9 to 5 life that I used to be involved in, that was very much based on pressure. There wasn't much fulfillment in that. So by doing what I'm doing now, I love working, yeah, with founders and mostly Irish B2B service providers, and really getting into the kind of life experiences that are unique to each individual, and then using that to convert as well.
Very good. So, again, some of the terminology, if some of our listeners or viewers are not familiar with it,
Yeah.
if they wanted to contact you because they have a business, they're nervous or afraid to use social media and video, as we heard when we were speaking at Social Media Fest. People say, "I know I have to do it, but I don't want to do it." But again, as I said, we all have to be seen because you are the face of the business. And if you want your business to be out there, you have to be out there as well. So there is somebody listening. We'll take for an example, somebody's just started off their jewelry business in Ireland, and obviously they have something really important to share, their creations, what work they're doing, but why they started, where their love of creation of jewelry came from. What would you advise them to do if they went to you and said, Caolan, please help me get my story out there? I don't know where to start.
It all starts with your origin story. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? What is the why behind it all? The why needs to be the core element of your mission statement. And that origin story, that's what people connect with emotionally, viscerally. It's relatable, it's real. And that gives people a reason to care about you and your business. Without that origin story, people don't really care. We need to give people a reason to care and to connect. So I'd always start with the origin story. What moment along your timeline occurred that then made you make that change and start the business? That would be step number one, Sharon, your origin story. Then that leads into your mission. So, what is the mission you are on?
To
What
conquer the
is.
world.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Um, yeah, absolutely. Conquer the world. For me, the mission, the mission is about inspiring, inspiring the next generation of and the current generation of Irish founders to share their story and to step into the light and give people a reason to care and to reach their full potential. So that's the mission I'm on, and that kind of leads into the vision then as well. So
Love it. Keep going. Yeah, I'm loving. I'm writing down these notes again for it's just really important because a lot of the time people listen to the podcast and they will come back to me afterwards, and and again I always say we have to speak sometimes as if people don't understand the terminology,
yeah,
instead of assuming that people understand what we're speaking about, because that's what people trust as well, don't they? It's like
yeah.
they were talking to me because I'm one of those knows nothing about the tech, the video. Sharon, can you explain what that meant? Because I got a bit of it, but I'm not quite sure. That's why I'm asking you to break it down,
Mm.
because sometimes things go over people's head because they don't understand it, and then they scroll on because they go, well, that's obviously not for me because I don't even know what they're talking about. So when we break it down and keep it simple, and just as you said there, I mean, everyone. has an origin story. They may not realize their origin story is so important, but now that you've said it, I mean, there's going to be light bulbs going off in everyone's minds as they're listening to you, Keelan, because they go, "Oh my God, my origin story is amazing. I never thought to share that. I was
Mhm.
just sharing, my business, what I do day to day. I was talking or I was at an event and da 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 da." And as you said, that's the same as everybody else. But who are you, the person? So that's, to me, the most important thing that you have said there. And again, the other thing is the moment you started the business or you decided or chose to take that next step in direction, again, what were the challenges you faced? But what was your mission? Again, like you starting out, it was taking that leap, offering yourself the freedom to do something that you wanted to create a life that would empower you and help you grow professionally and personally. The mission, inspiring Irish businesses to step into the light. I would call it stepping out of their comfort zone.
Yeah,
Isn't it true?
definitely.
Yeah. How do you help somebody that goes, "No, I want to create a story, but I don't want to be in it"? Have you come across that, Keelan?
More often than you think. Yeah, it's you kind of just have to realize that you're not sharing your story looking for validation. You're not sharing your story in an egotistical way. You're sharing your story to connect with your audience more on a deeper level. Connection is then the byproduct of connection is trust. And who do people buy from? People they trust, people they like and trust. So that's kind of the reason we do this, the reason we share our origin story, to connect deeper, to build more trust, which can then lead to more sales for your business.
And you couldn't make it any more simpler than that. Because I think sometimes it's the terminology or the people's perception of what it is to, share their stories, share their mission statement, again, to stand up and be themselves authentically. Without expectations of what they thought they should be like when they started out. And to have someone, again, as you, because you're quite enthusiastic, you're very personable, and you can see the fun and the joy of it instead of it making it hard work to create this story, for social media or for their website or wherever. I just love it. But again, the most important thing for me is the origin story. So I know, as I said, people listening or that will be watching this, they will go, "Oh my God, could I share my story? I wonder what that would be like." And the cogs are starting to move now, and they're realizing maybe that's the thing that's been missing in my business.
Yeah, I'd bet that, Sharon, as well. A lot of people they kind of shy away from this stuff, but through this conversation, hopefully, we have inspired more people to share that origin story, to discuss the different challenges and roadblocks they faced along the way and all the different conflict, and then ultimately how they became the person they needed to be to overcome that conflict and to get their business to where it is today.
I love it. Caolan Kelly, you have been an absolute pleasure to chat to today. You're just inspiring, and I love that you've taken that leap at a younger age and that you're going to learn so much more about yourself. And who knows where you'll be in 5 or 10 years' time, but it's not going to matter because if you stick with the passion that you're feeling for living your life authentically and helping others, that is going to help you just skyrocket in the world. Thank you, Keelan.
Thanks a million for having me, Sharon. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, if you would like to connect with Keelan and find out more about maybe sharing your origin story or how Keelan can help you in your business, it doesn't matter what the size of your business is. If you've only started or you've been in business for 20 years, maybe it's something that you could say, "You know what? I'm trying to keep up with all of the new things, but I don't have time or I'm not sure how to do it. Well, then Keelan is the person that can help you and support you along the way. So you can connect with Keelan on Instagram, and I will put all of the links in the show notes. You're also on LinkedIn as well, where I connected with Keelan first through Samantha Kelly. She is the tweeting goddess. Now she is going to be the LinkedIn goddess because she is connecting and sharing with so many people. It's amazing. And you're also on YouTube as well, Keelan. So there is loads of places people can find you. And I know your name has always kind of, you've been called several things because of the spelling of it, but it is Caolan Kelly. So again, that will all be in the show notes. So if you are ever curious about what it would look like to share your story, to share the story of your business, the challenges that you have faced along the way, it is simply about reaching out, contact Keelan through LinkedIn message, through a DM on Instagram. Just ask the question. Just ask the question because that's where it starts. It's getting curious about how could it look different for me if I took a leap, if I decided or chose to give myself the freedom to be who I wanted to be authentically. Keelan Kelly, thank you again for joining us. You have been an amazing guest.
Thanks, Sharon. Talk soon.
So until next time, everyone, take care of you.